Welcome to Drinking Bros, presented by GhostBed.com.
Welcome to Drinking Bros Sports Tailgate Legend Show. We're live from my living room today.
We are. It's a nice living room.
Yeah, we're live from my living room. COVID's lifting, but there's still restrictions.
Don't forget, I declared COVID dead last show.
Yeah, but we're still not
dead.
doing any tailgates. We have the most interesting guest that we've ever had on the show, and that says a lot because we've had some amazing guests.
We sure have.
From Miss Muhammad Ali, Willie Parker from the Steelers, Antoine Harris,
Robert Jones,
Micah Martin, Hamidi Jassem. But this one, guys, what an amazing guest. We're going to be on with him in about 10 minutes. And I'm excited. But you know what? Today's show, this is Tailgate Legends, where we tailgate with legends. So we're all about the food. We're all about the tailgate. And sometimes you just can't make it to the game.
No, but speaking of games, we got a little breaking news right before the show. The NFL has extended their season to 17 games this year.
Why?
Because Roger Goodell claims to care about the players' health, so make them play more.
Okay.
So really, what he really cares about, like I said the last show, the bottom line and money. So we're going to have 17 games this next season, 2021, starting right off the bat.
Well, I'm all about the money as well. And that's why I'm going to get to the sponsors before our caller calls in, because I want to get the sponsors out now.
It's a veteran move.
Yeah, it is. I learned from the best, and that's Roger Goodell. Are you drinking out of a whiskeywear.com decanter? No, that's an infinity bottle, a custom infinity bottle by whiskeywear.com. I guess we're going to go ahead and knock out whiskeywear.com. That's whiskeywear, WARE.com. Customizable premium whiskey glasses, decanters, infinity bottles, which are supposed to just hold various liquors at the bottom. If you don't know what an infinity bottle is, Google it. But you've poured your beer in there, and you're just stone coning that beer right from an infinity glass.
I'm drinking in style.
But look, I've got my infinity glass here. Not an infinity glass, but my whiskeywear custom.
I think they call them tumblers, right?
Tumbler, yep.
So
whiskeywear.com. We've actually got a new sponsor today.
Oh, yeah? Who's that?
We do. It's Barefacers, B-A-R-E, Facers.com, Barefacers.com. Yeah, they're coming out with all the bare face. That's the pun on maskless wears. That's
the anti-maskers,
yes,
they call them.
the anti-maskers, the anti-new vaccine thing. They've got some pretty funny shirts out, some handbags, all sorts of cool stuff. Hey, look, whatever, I'll promote it. I'm going to wear, one of their shirts says nope and has a mask on it. I'm going to wear it. I think that's funny, but you do you. Anyway, that's barefacers.com. Always Instill Distilling Company, makers of the finest rum in North America, available in Florida and in North Carolina. They're available in Jacksonville, Orlando. But this rum is near and dear to my heart. It's special to me. It's special to you.
It is.
We love it.
In fact, when this show drops Friday night at 8, I might be busy over it still.
Well, that's right. You're playing music.
Playing a couple,
you've got
couple
a gig.
tunes. Yep.
You've got a gig over at Instill with a new band called the North to South Band. If you haven't seen Boston Joe live,
Check
this
us
could be
out.
your chance. This could be your chance. 7 o'clock, Instill Distilling Company. They're playing live. We also have another new sponsor, Blue Line Canine. Blue Line Canine. We're actually doing a live show with them next month. Really excited about that. Look them up, Blue Line Canine. These are ex-police and military dog trainers who train dogs. They're doing a live podcast
Doggos.
at Instill Distilling Company.
They train doggos, not dogs, doggos.
What's a doggo?
You have one running around somewhere.
I don't call them doggos.
I call them doggos because I care about the doggos.
They will be here next month. If you follow Instill Distilling Co. on Facebook or Instagram, you can see when that podcast drops. The live show, it's on a Tuesday. It's going to be a lot of fun. Bring your dog out there. Give us a call. Give us a message. Let us know you're coming. By the way, whiskeywear.com, it's promo code LEGEND.
Now, is that all just legend? Or?
And I believe it's all cap. If it's not all cap, try
we
it.
should probably get that straightened out. We say this every week.
Every show. We say that every show.
But I'm sure if the people really want it, they'll try every variation.
I think it's Legends.
I think
Drinking
with an
Bro
S, right?
Legends with an S, and it's all capital.
We should get better with that.
We should. We're terrible.
I said veteran move in the beginning, but now we're showing our rookie stripes right now. We're a work in progress, people.
Today's tailgate hack is just that. You can't go out. There is no tailgate, and so you're going to tailgate from your living room. Maybe you get invited. You get invited to a tailgate and you've got to bring something. So today's recipe is brought to you by barefacers.com. That recipe is this very simple bean dip. And if I get a chance to get my against Jesse Wiseman redemption
is the
my
word you're looking
redemption is the word I'm looking for. This would have been the dip I showed up with. It's a very simple dip. It's a 5-minute dip.
But just because it's simple doesn't mean it has to suck, right?
Boy, a little shout out to conspiracy cuisine there.
Always.
But this recipe is you take a pie dish, right? A pie dish, and you layer the bottom with one stick of cream cheese. You're going to add Hormel chili with the beans. I like it with the beans. If you don't like beans, don't add the beans. But we're just going to layer the pan, the bottom of the pie pan, the pie glass, Pyrex, pie glass. You're going to just layer the glass, the bottom of the glass with the cream cheese. Just going to spread it around, get it nice and even on the bottom. You're going to open up a can of Hormel chili with the beans. If you don't like beans, then don't use the beans.
I mean, I am
Hormel
from
without
Bean
beans.
Town after all.
And then you're going to pour that, make it even across. And you're going to dump one whole bag of mozzarella cheese on top of that. Oh, and by the way, that's the Hormel chili with the beans and the meat. Because you can also get Hormel chili without the meat.
Always
You
add
know
the
what?
meat.
Always add the meat.
We love our meat.
And then you're going to microwave that for 3 minutes. And serve it with your favorite chips. I like to use the purple chips. If you like the little scoops.
No, the
get
purple
scoops.
chips. The purple chips are bougie as fuck. Jesse made fun of them. She used straight Fritos. Now I'm not going with the white trash thing here, like she mentioned. But Fritos, not my thing. Neither are the bougie blue chips. I like a good scoops.
Okay.
You get
good
more bang for
scoops.
your buck.
So there's your tailgate hack for the Tailgate Legends show this week. That recipe will be posted up on Drinking Bros Sports Facebook and Instagram. We'll make sure we get that out this week. Our special guest will be here in about 4 minutes. So you got 4 minutes for any house cleaning that you need to get out of the way. Boss and Joe, what's going on with sports this week?
Well, house cleaning. We are in your house, so you should have cleaned the house actually and done the house cleaning. But I'm sure Ashley did a fantastic job on the house cleaning there. Well, we mentioned the NFL season being extended. I'm curious to see what the players' reactions are. I'm sure a lot of them probably won't like that because as much as they love to play football and get paid, 16 games does a lot to the body. Sure. I don't know if they're going to take away a preseason game. If it were up to me, I would take away 2 at the very least, especially if you're going to add
Sure, I think so. I think you take away the preseason games. Nobody wants to watch that many preseason games anyway.
No, nobody
It's not
does
to
anyway.
do anything for the ratings.
No.
And I don't think the players need it.
No, and it changed
The
the whole...
coaches may, but...
It changed the whole landscape of how the NFL season is going to play out. I don't know how they're going to, usually what they do is you play your interdivision rivals twice, and then you each year pick a different, not pick, but you get assigned a different division to play, which, by the way, someone's making a return this year, the return of the king, they call it. Shout out to the Lord of the Rings fans out there. Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going up to New England and playing the Patriots. Tom Brady makes his return to Gillette Stadium. And if anyone can hook me up with some tickets for that, I would love it. So I'd love to see that, even though he'll be wearing the wrong jersey.
Speaking of tickets, we've got tickets to something special. We're going to the UFC fight with Chuck Liddell, with Ross Patterson and those guys. That's going to be really exciting.
Just so humbled.
I know. I'm so humbled that I thought I
We're
would.
blessed. We don't deserve it, but we'll fucking take it, right? I mean,
yeah. Blessed. Come on. And
not to mention, we're going to Austin even before that for the NFL draft, where I'm still holding out. Maybe it'll wait till draft day. But Jimmy G is coming back to the Patriots. They traded up to get potentially a quarterback, maybe Justin Fields.
Here comes the dip. The
Here
winning
comes
dip.
the dip.
Chef Ashley here. Here comes the dip. Look at that. Look at that. Yeah, put the chips on my side because fuck
Exquisite.
Boston Joe.
You wish you could.
We'll put those right out there for
I'd
you.
rock your world.
Look,
let's try not to spill anything on this, Tansy, right? That would be stupid if
Wouldn't
you...
be our first spill of the day, but I'm going to go ahead and take a bite of this chip, get it out of the way before our guest comes
Let's
on.
hear that crunch. Ooh, a little ASMR.
Taste that.
I'm going to taste it. Don't worry. I wanted to watch you eat it first.
It's so good.
I wanted to see your foodgasm.
It's so good. Let me get a picture of this really quick, guys. This show is, we got 1 minute. And this show is going to be completely different than any other show we have. We have an amazing guest. And look, this guest is coming on right now. we would never ask you to do something for the show. We are going to do that this show. Give this guy a follow on Instagram. He's up over 50,000 followers, but he needs your support more than anything. He needs the Drinking Bros community. This is a story that has never been told before. Maybe one of the greatest stories that I've ever heard. We've had the Terrorist Whisperer on. I've heard his story. I love it. We've heard lots of stories throughout Drinking Bros. But this story is near and dear to my heart, mainly because I know this guy. I served in the military with this guy. But he truly is probably the most interesting human being on the planet. And what's been done to him as of late is, in my opinion, almost tragic. I think it's an abomination of what it means to be an American.
Yeah.
So
we don't want to give too much away because he's going to tell his story, and he's done the rounds and been on, Fox News and other, ways, other different platforms to sort of tell his story. But this is the place you need to go to really hear his story. He's going to tell us everything.
Go ahead and get on Seth Jahn, SethJahn. He's got the blue check mark. You'll be able to see him. I think his profile picture is him getting off a helicopter with a tuxedo on. But give him a follow and send him a message. That's what we're asking you to do today, is follow Seth Jahn and give a message. Let him know that you support him. If you don't support him,
then that's fucked.
Okay. No,
just
it's
kidding.
okay. But he's already heard enough of the people who don't support him. He's lost everything. He's lost all of his endorsers, his endorsements for something that I feel is just a little bit. Ridiculous. I think the cancel culture has really fucked him over on this one. And so if you are listening to the show, he is just coming up on Skype. We're trying to get that figured out. But go ahead and go over to Instagram right now, Seth Jahn, and send him a private message and let him know your support and let him know that you understand what he's going through. There he is, Seth Jahn, up on the camera with us. Homie, this is a magical moment for us.
Oh my goodness, a reunion. Look at it.
It is a reunion. You've got the blue check mark now on the old Instagrams. You're somewhere over 50,000 followers. Probably lost a shit ton of followers last week. Just kidding. You probably gained more than you actually lost. At least I would hope. I'm not going to get into that story right now, Seth, but you're going to tell that story later, I hope, because it's something we're all dying to know. But for those of you who don't know, and we've already talked about it, Seth, going to your Instagram, checking you out. Seth, come on, man. Tell us about you. You are by far the most interesting man in the world.
That is a very, very generous assessment, my brother. It's pretty ridiculous that so many people put so much emphasis on that little cyber blue check mark, as if it gives you some type of validation or something.
In this world, it does.
Worthless now as I was.
No, listen, how Seth and I met, Boston Joe, you were asking this earlier. I said I was going to make it on the show. Seth and I actually officially met in a combatives course. It was a Marine Corps combatives course, and we were the only two Army cats there, I believe.
Yeah.
And we had
I choked him out.
I was going to say, please tell me you've kicked this dude's
maybe
ass.
a baker dozen times or so.
Good.
He's a lot bigger than me.
It feels like a lifetime ago. Can you believe, bro? Like, I remember sitting out looking at those Afghan mountains as the sun was going down. You're out there strumming on your guitar in your freaking little chubby shorts with your shirt off. And I probably got my tambourine or my little eggs or something like that. And who would have thought years later that people would actually give a damn what we have to say?
Dude, it blows my mind all the time. Look, to see where you have gone, where you have come and gone from there. And then the second time we ran into each other, we were both trying out for special operations together, and you showed up. We hadn't seen each other in probably 2 years. And you showed up with a Jesus Loves You t-shirt to Special Forces Assessment. Special Forces Assessment and Selection, day one. Here comes Seth Jahn, big as fuck, rolling up with a t-shirt that said, Jesus hearts you.
Bro, you got an incredible memory, man. I needed all the help that I could get, and I figured, Jesus would be a good one to tap into going into.
Then after that, we trained together for a little bit. We lost touch for another year or so, and the next call I got was that you were wounded in Afghanistan on your way to Germany on life support or some bullshit, and then you were going to Walter Reed, and then from there to Florida. just tragic events that down spiraled from there. Thought you would never walk again. You were in a coma. We were all talking to our friends, trying to figure out what was going on with you. And then like a phoenix from the ashes.
Is that a Phoenix call right there?
When the Falcon Phoenix, I always get confused with the two, man. Honestly, bro, like, I don't have any stories of heroism and me kicking ass all over the world. All my stories are me getting my ass kicked all over the world and actual heroes bailing me out. So I appreciate studs like you out there, man.
That means you're a tough bastard then.
I won't say much about myself, but I am very, very, very hard to kill.
Yes,
It seems it.
You are. And you know what? Your Instagram, by the way, is probably the most entertaining Instagram. It's the most real Instagram. It's really like watching a phoenix. Watching you go to the top of Mount Kilimanjaro, you doing the Iditarod with the fucking dogs, swimming with alligators and crocodiles, humping tigers.
It was consensual. Hey,
we don't kink
honestly,
shame,
bro. Like we always talked about our dreams and our goals and all that, and we had some pretty big aspirations. And when I was laid up in that hospital bed for a year and a half, having team after team of doctors say, "Oh, Seth, you'll never walk again. You need to start looking at your quality of life," and to the point, "Oh, you'll walk again, but only with an assisted device." It just gave me a new fervor for life, not to be corny, but I just, at that point, my biggest fear was just having regret, being 40, 50 years old one day, saying, man, I wish I would have done that. I could have done that. And here we are in that moment. And it just takes being a man or a woman of action to go make it happen. There's nothing special about me, man. I just wanted it. I wanted to have those experiences and it made me appreciate all that much more,
When we first met at that combatives course, and we were the only two Army guys, we got paired up together. I knew right off the bat that you and I were kind of the same cloth. There was no quitting us. Matter of fact, they at one point, Boston Joe, they said that we were going to be kicked out of the course if we did not stop when they said to stop, because he and I were choking each other, punching each other. We hated each other. It was complete competition at that time. I don't think we knew each other's names, but we went hard, and it was probably more me going hard. Because you were so big.
You were going full tansy?
I was going full tansy on him every time. But he took it, and he wanted more of it. And he choked me out several times, and he was talking shit. I think they'll probably still talk. Those instructors probably still talk about us to this day. But it was a fun time, and I knew that you were special. We met up later on in that deployment at some weird camp. And I remember you telling me, you said, I'm going to be a pro soccer player when I'm done with this. And you did something that not a lot of people had ever done. And you went out to a helicopter pad unprotected. There was no fencing. There was no gates back then. There was no concertina wire to protect us. You went out to a helicopter pad and you invited Afghan national soldiers to come play soccer. And it was the weirdest thing. Everybody knew it. Even all the operators, all the SF guys. Matter of fact, I think at one point they had put some security guys, some guys that just refused to not wear a gun during that time. But you took your guns off and you set them down. You took the ammo out and you left the ammo behind. And you played soccer with Afghans in the middle of nowhere every night.
It was interesting because, sports kind of taken a backward direction for me as of late. As we politicize sports always been that one thing that we can kind of escape from reality from, and now they've bled that into the things that we love in our extracurricular endeavors in that regard. But that day, man, it was just an example of how sport, the pure sport, and arts in general, music, sport, language, those type of things have such a unique way of transcending barriers, whether racially, ethnically, with your language, all of that. And that was a really beautiful example of that, So, that was a cool experience for sure.
It was a cool experience until you fell and broke your collarbone. And that was your first deployment. That was your first injury. I was actually got to be there for that and see you limp out of that hole with a broken collarbone. We won't go into how that happened.
Like I said, man, I don't have any cool guy stories, man. All my stories are me just getting my ass kicked,
I think you have a couple cool guy stories, and Tansy, it seems like, wants to tell them all, but I would like for you to tell us. I don't want to call you a victim because you're far from a victim, but you kind of fell victim to the cancel culture that's going on right now. So for everyone who's out there listening who doesn't know your story yet, let's why don't we hear it from your mouth yourself and tell us your thoughts on the whole cancel culture bullshit.
I appreciate that, man. Yeah. So I guess to really articulate it, I need to give you a little backstory. Right out of college, I signed pro. I played a year professionally and realized I didn't want to play a game to define my life. And that's what propelled me into more service-oriented career fields in the military and all of that. When I was injured, I left the hospital a year and a half, 2 years later, and went into the intelligence community and served as a counterintelligence special agent for a while, and I got hit again. Got hit by a Katyusha rocket, and at that point, I'd been eating, sleeping, breathing warfare for the last dozen years of my life, and I needed to decompress. I moved to Thailand, and I had a small little hut out there in Phuket. I was fighting professionally. I have a background in combat sports, and it all ties into the story, so bear with me. But I was volunteering at animal rescues. And,
wait, we didn't ask you to tell the story of Rambo 6. We wanted you to tell your story, not Rambo 6's story. I'm just kidding. Continue.
Well, so all right, we'll fast forward from there, but that's what tied into Africa.
And you were Muay Thai fighting in Thailand, correct?
Yeah. I went there for MMA, and I just couldn't get a fight at my weight. I wanted to fight local guys.
Because you're fat as fuck, or what? What was your weight?
I came in about 235, and they don't really make them that size out there. So
was that racist?
I had lots
Should we
of
cancel
Russian
you for
fights
that?
if I wanted to, but one of my buddies said, "Hey man, why don't you drop down to 205 and fight Muay Thai? We can get you fights all day." So I was like, "All right, man." Those boys, they took it to me. Their legs are like baseball bats. But it was an awesome experience, man. It was just so pure. As I was able to refocus and I came to a place where I was ready to get back to reality. I went back to Europe, and I, as a contractor this time, doing pretty comparable stuff in the intelligence community, and got back involved with soccer and with sport, and the U.S. national team saw some footage of me from the U.S. national 7-a-side team and reached out, offered me a trial at the Olympic Training Center in Chula Vista. And when they hit me up, I was like, y'all sure? Like, I thought that ship had long sailed, man. And I was, about 30 at the time. And I went out there for a trial. It was successful. I kind of came to that place where we were just talking about before, there I was, being 40, 50 years old one day saying, man, I wish I would have done that. I could have done that, should have done that. Here I was in that moment. And the kicker for me was that the national team were ranked 9th in the world. The top 8 teams go to Rio. So I ended up making the trial, did well, put me onto the roster. I competed at the World Cup in England and actually got the game winner against Scotland that put us into Rio. It's a very insignificant chintzy goal, but it was kind of a profound moment for me, going from never walking again to putting a goal in that put us into to Rio. And so competed in Rio in 2016, and
which, by the way, there was a video of you during that, because we're your biggest fans, right? Obviously, the guys that served with you, a lot of the 20th group guys. We're all big Seth Jahn fans. And one of my favorite videos is where you went to take a knee for the anthem. The camera came to you. You went to take a knee, and then you stood right back up and you shook your finger, and you put your hand over your heart. I thought that was the funniest, most ballsy move I've ever seen.
Yeah, bro.
On the big market.
So that's what I was tying into to answer my man's question over there. I came to it's kind of funny because the assistant coach, he says everybody knew I was like super patriotic guy on the team and everything. I was one of the captains, and he's like you gotta take a knee, because that was like the fad thing to do at the time. Athletes getting all that, all those Instagram clicks for taking a knee for something they don't even understand. And I was like, yeah, coach, I'm going to take a knee. So when they started playing the anthem, he's kind of like looking at me all cheeky, and so I went down to take a knee, and I was like, nah, man. And I stood up and honored our flag and all those who came before it, and the camera was on me at that moment.
It was so funny.
they couldn't get it off of me fast enough. Bro.
No, they couldn't. But you know what? It's too late. We had already seen it, man. I think I was streaking around the living room when that happened. I was butt naked already.
I'm glad I didn't see that, by the way. Well, let me ask you, since we're
That's
talking
what we call foreshadowing right there.
well, since
Foreshadowing
we're
for the
talking
future.
about
Foreskin shadowing.
we're talking about the kneeling stuff. Now, you know, I'm patriotic too, maybe not as much as you, but I don't give a fuck if you want to kneel or not. But the problem is now it's, like you said, politicized, and it's become a big thing, and people are getting praised for one side and not necessarily praised for the other. So just like I don't have a problem with you doing the whole fuck you and waving my finger, I didn't really have a problem with Kaepernick doing it either. But the problem is that the narrative is set now that only one side, you know, gets blame and the other side gets praised, when I think that's the most un-American thing ever. The whole point is you can do whatever the fuck you want, just leave me alone while I do it.
You're absolutely spot on, bro. Like for me, I would give my life to protect their right to take that knee. I don't have to agree with it. Like, that's the thing. We all come from different backgrounds, different life experiences. For whatever formulated their position at that time where they felt like they need to kneel, how can I go and berate that? Like, but that doesn't mean that it minimizes my voice and what's formulated my life experience to a point of why I choose to kneel. And for me, choose to stand. And for me, when I think about what that flag represents, that flag, every race in the history of time has been enslaved by another demographic. The only country that actually fought a war to abolish slavery underneath the very stars and bars that they take a knee for, and it's just so counterintuitive. It just makes no sense to me at all, man. Like that, they're taking a knee, they're smearing the image and the sacrifice. Those men, 400,000 plus men died to abolish slavery underneath those stars and stripes. And why would I ever take a knee for that, man? Like, my job is to free slaves. That's what I do for a living now, which is crazy. I'm even saying this publicly because, I've been very quiet about it, obviously, working.
For those of you who don't know, let me just stop you there. For those of you who don't know, Seth Jahn was canceled recently from USA Soccer because he gave a speech. It was a very passionate speech, but it was very articulated. I thought your facts, nothing in that speech sounded racist to me, but it didn't go with the narrative. They fired you for almost a heinous racial cause. I challenge you guys to go listen to the speech. There's nothing even questionably racist about that speech that you gave. You gave facts and statistics, but also I think it's important to know for our followers that you got canceled for that, but you were also of ethnic descent as well. Your name is Seth Jahn. You're Spanish or Mexican, Indian. I don't know what you are, but
for me, bro, like, that's what bogs my mind is that So I was an elected representative on the Athletes Council, and so I wasn't even planning on saying anything. One of the chairman of the council he calls me prior and says, "Hey, I'm not going to say anything." Kind of guiding me not to say anything either because they're trying to get a 30% vote on the board of directors. He says, "I'm with you. I know where you stand on it." I says, "All right, I'm not going to say anything, man. But you're not going to have a unanimous vote on 604-1. He says, "I totally get it." So when they bring it up, he pipes up, and I'm like, "Wait a second, man. He doesn't speak for me here." And I wish that I would have taken the time to. I just shot from the hip. Like, I was like, "Wait, he doesn't speak for me." Like, I'm not gonna, just let him have my name attached to this vote. So for me, I just felt compelled to like pipe up, man. And I wish, the one thing that I wish I would have better articulated is simply calling for athletes with millions of followers, because that's what happened. There's only like a few of the athletes on the council with millions of followers that called me a racist. And then obviously the rabid, leftist media were just salivating at the chance of calling somebody a racist and canceling them. That's essentially what happened. U.S. Soccer dissected my speech word for word. They even told me we didn't find anything racist. We didn't necessarily agree with everything. We didn't find anything racist, but they still released a statement to appease the mob, man. And that's just so weak and cowardice. And it blew my mind. But one thing that I do want to reiterate that I wish that I would have seriously just put more emphasis on was the fact that I in no way minimized the atrocities of slavery hundreds of years ago. My call to action was, can we refocus from the slavery hundreds of years ago to the tens of millions of people that are enslaved today?
Because you're traveling around the world.
Bring visibility to that, bring visibility to the tens of more people enslaved today than any point in history. And that's what I do for a living. I couldn't say that at the time.
And not in America either.
Bro, so for me, it was just, I have these pretentious athletes, these privileged athletes and millionaires that's from their ivory towers, condemning people for exercising any type of diversity of thought. Like, we don't have to agree, but let's have a meaningful, healthy exchange of dialogue. That's how we grow. That's how we progress, man. Like, is learning what formulated my life experience, what formulated yours, and coming to a place of understanding where we don't have to hate each other for having different opinions. As soon as you exercise any type of position that differs from the narrative, you are canceled, you are censored. And that's where I come to this place, bro. And I am resolute that the only keyword here, mass discrimination, I know there's discrimination all over the world. The only mass discrimination in our country is that of conservative voices. If you exercise any type of conservative values or ideals or a voice, then you have no voice anymore. And I'm testament to that, man. Like, I spent my entire life fighting for people of color, persecuted all over the world. If you want to relegate it down to people of color, which is just asinine to me, then do so. But, for me, having these athletes who've done nothing remarkable with their life except for kick around a bag of air, condemn me, call me a racist for freaking, asking to shift our focus to people who are being enslaved today. It blows my mind, bro. And
it's so funny because I know you, caveat to this or just to jump on the back here, Jahn was one of my groomsmen at my wedding. And so, I always going to have like a personal relationship with you, Seth. We've been through a lot together, but, I feel like I know you more than anybody else. I don't know that you would have said it or could have said it. But one of your last missions was hunting pedophiles around the world. You're probably not allowed to talk about that, but I asked you, you said your gloves were off, so I'm going to bring it up. But I mean, you were in the Thailand, the Philippine area, and you were hunting pedophiles for a while. And so you've seen true slavery. You were in Africa hunting poachers before that. You look for the monster that we all sleep with. I was talking earlier about how sheepdogs will never ever be able to communicate with a sheep, which would be a civilian, and a sheepdog will never be able to communicate with the farmer, which would be the politician. None of them speak the same language. And I feel like you are feeling that frustration of you're not able to say, look, guys, I'm out there fighting the monsters that you can't see. The farmer doesn't see what I do at night when I go out there and chase the coyotes and the cougars and the bears, and the sheep don't know that either.
And that's the thing, man, is like, I don't, the guys from our community live selfless lives. It's not to self-gratify, or to get followers on Twitter or Instagram or whatever, man. Like, we don't give a crap about that, dude. Like, we live a life of selflessness to put others before ourselves, to put our teammates before ourselves, to put people before ourselves. That's why we continuously go in to those communities and to those regions of the world that are truly being persecuted, and try and do what we can to, I've said this before, and this is what's propelling me into the political realm is there's always been some semblance of balance between good and evil throughout the entirety of history, right? And the only reason for that balance is that good men and good women who have elected the side of good have been men and women of action. They didn't talk about it. They didn't grandstand and virtue signal. They just went and did it, man. And that's why the guys in our community are just a cut from a different cloth. Not that we're better or anything like that. It's just that we're better.
Yeah. And we have a saying around here, dubbed by Dan Holloway, APAC, all politicians are cunts. And that's kind of a way that the drinking bros live by. And to circle back on the cancel culture stuff, it's how do you combat something like that, right? They're trying to silence people. And
you lost your endorsements. You lost Nike. You were on Fox News, CNN.
But the problem is, too.
All my jobs, bro. Because the organizations I was working for, they support me, but they said that, look, man, there's just too much visibility on you from all this cancel culture madness. Like, they says that we got to stand you down. And I was a team leader, keep in mind, bro. Like, I mean, I lost my sponsors except for one. And,
who's your sponsor? Shout them out.
Yeah, Georgia Extracts, man, go check them out. They stood by my side, and they're an incredible organization. They do a lot of medical CBD stuff, all professional sports organizations. So, yeah, man, it was I think to answer your question, and this is what's propelling me into that realm, and I agree with you. I'm about to go become one of those cunts probably. It takes men from our community who are forged in that selfless mindset, who put people before themselves, to say, all right, it's time that we recognize these egregiously underqualified individuals who are making command decisions on behalf of all of us in the political realm with no experience to warrant their subject matter expertise, and replace those self-serving politicians with the selfless warrior class, man, because there's such a lack of representation from that selfless warrior class. Like, the people are craving real talk. The people are craving somebody who just doesn't give a damn, who's going to take their gloves off, who aren't going to play the political game and go and shake things up, man. And I have never been less motivated for an endeavor in my life. I absolutely despise the thought of me even in that circle. But, you know, what that's what it's going to take, man, is for guys from our community. And I implore everybody who's listening to this, everybody from our community, to look at their communities, say, man, I can take that city council slot, I can take that state representative slot, I can take that state senate slot, because we're at a critical point in our country. We're at the crossroads, man. Our liberties are being siphoned from us. My example, all it did was illuminate, but my stupid little gay story is nothing compared to like the thousands and thousands of messages I've gotten from so many people. I'm not even exaggerating. I'd say between 8,000 and 9,000 people reached out to me and said, Seth, thank you for just being bold in your convictions, bold in your faith, bold in what you believe. I can't, if I say this, I lose my job, I lose my sponsors, I have a husband, I have a wife, I have children. What the hell kind of country we living in, where if you express a diversity of thought, you lose your job and your promotion and your position, man.
Yeah,
like,
and the irony is
to rectify that, bro. It's time to be men and women of action. That's all.
The irony is the side on the left, or whatever you want to call them, are preaching diversity, but like you said, there's no diversity of thought. And the problem is, now it's become a game, right? Where it's been a political game where, the left, the Democrats, the liberals, whatever you want to, paint the picture and call them, they're the ones silencing people like you. And conservative thought is definitely being silenced. That's, goes without being said. However, now the other side is trying to fight back. Like, I don't know if you're familiar with Lil Nas X, the Old Town Road guy. He came out with this music video where he's fucking the devil. Now, I mean, I'm sure Tansy's got some kids. He probably wouldn't want his kids to see that. Whatever, that's fine. But now the problem...
he even said that he's targeting children. That's his target.
Yeah, and that is strange to me. Don't get me wrong. But now you have people on the so-called right who are like, now we need to cancel him. And that's not going to help anything. If you combat what you're trying to...
He's not going to get canceled because he's not the left. Now, look, the right had been trying to cancel... what's the artist's name that used to have the one eyeball...
Bob Ross?
No, the one eye.
Dan Crenshaw?
No, what are your thoughts on Dan Crenshaw? By the way, I'm not talking about Dan Crenshaw. I'm talking about the heavy rock guy with the one eye, Marilyn Manson. The right have been trying to cancel Marilyn Manson for a long time, and it never happened. Yeah. Why? Because it's not right.
But no one should be canceled. That's my point. You need idiots out there so you can point them out and say, this guy's a fucking idiot.
And that's what the difference is that the right, I think that the right tried for such a long time to cancel Marilyn Manson, and it never happened. I can remember when Marilyn Manson came to Jacksonville, Florida, and there was a large protest to try to silence that show, and the show went on, baby. The show went on. Now, if it was coming from the right, that I don't believe that show would go on. I think the show would get canceled.
And that's
wrong. I think that's where the hypocrisy comes from.
I love
in a lot of these things.
That even in this conversation, that we're critical of both sides, because that's what makes our country so beautiful is being able to exercise our First Amendment, and then the Second Amendment protecting that First Amendment, obviously. So.
Yeah, there's a battle for the Second Amendment
coming
up,
What is your opinion on Dan Crenshaw? I know that you mentioned Dan Crenshaw. I've been following him lately for the last 5 or 6 months. I'm actually a big fan of the guy. What's your take on Dan Crenshaw?
Aside from like having a dozen stories of SEALs almost getting me killed, brilliant on the maritime piece, terrible in the land warfare piece, no mission planning. Anyways, I think he's brilliant, man. I think he has such a measured voice. He doesn't shy away from any difficult questions or the difficult audiences. He relishes it. He gives a really good perspective and perception of conservative voices without any condemnation or judgment. And I really, the thing I applaud him most on is how he develops his framework and his arguments and his positions, and how he makes that palatable and received from. Because if the only type of message that is going to be the only type of extreme message that's going to be received is going to be from somebody who already holds that extreme position. It has to be disseminated from a position of love and understanding, and that way you can have true discourse, and he does a really great job of doing that, I think.
Well, Tansy asked you about Dan Crenshaw. I'm a fan of him too. I'm also a fan of someone on the other side of the aisle, I should say, is Tulsi Gabbard. She's someone who interests me a lot. She's got a lot of things to say, and I don't agree with everything she says, but a lot of the stuff that she says really intrigues me. Now, if you could, the whole two-party system can get fucked at this point. We need to evolve as a country. We need to really, reevaluate everything that we're doing right now in this country.
I agree.
And, what if there was some sort of joint presidency of someone like a Tulsi Gabbard who leans left and Dan Crenshaw who leans right? Is that something that's possible? It's not a king and queen. They can get fucked too, the kings and the queens out there. But is there some sort of way that we could sort of reevaluate our whole political system so that we can have more Tulsi Gabbards and Dan Crenshaws working together rather than playing this political theater and go back and forth and seeing Pelosi rip up Trump's shit behind him? It's all theater at this point, and nothing ever gets done.
It is, and I've been saying that for probably the last 2 or 3 years, that I wish that we could have a system like that where we have a VP and a POTUS that are on opposite sides of the aisle. I think that's how you truly unite the countries from the top down, And Abraham Lincoln is a great example of that. Look what he did with his cabinet. He had a complete split down the middle because he wanted all voices equally represented, and that's not what's happening in our country right now.
No, so the problem is they want to fill their pockets instead. They don't give a shit about us as people anymore. Politicians should not be making money at all. They're supposed to be working for us, serving
that'd
us.
be my first piece of legislation, man. I'd be like, term limits for myself. Here's the legislation for it, but they don't want that. They crave that power once they have it, But that's why you got to look at the individual. It's subjective. You got to look at where they came from, what they've done prior to that. It's all self-serving, man. And you're right. It's grandstanding. It's theatrics. They have to look good and present themselves in a certain way. It's not real. It's not real. And that's what people respond to the most. Love him or hate him, but that's what people responded to Trump, because he just wasn't a politician. You knew what you're going to get with him. So.
I don't know about that.
We talk about theatrics and we talk at things that don't make sense. And I'll just give another shout out to one of our sponsors who's paying for the show today, bearfacers.com. Bearfacers.com. They're kind of taking that stand on a very controversial subject. They're kind of reaching out towards those no mask wearing folks that are deemed the bear facers. It's a really funny website, bearfacers.com. And that's just a shameless plug for those guys. But theatrics is one of those things that I have kind of, and I'm not saying I'm a bear facer. I'm not saying I'm an anti-mask wearer or anything like that. I choose to wear my mask when it's appropriate and when it's not to. But, we talk about range theatrics, being an operator and things like that. And I've heard a lot of operators talk about things where you do things that don't make sense, right? So if we're on the range and we're shooting, we look to our left and we look to our right, and I forgot the operator. There was an operator that taught a course that taught all about that, and I forgot his name now, but I wish I remember his name. But, he talked about when we shoot targets and you hit that target and you scan to your left, you scan to your right, and then you holster, and it's over. And those are what we call range theatrics, because that's not reality. If you're really going to scan for a threat, you'd be looking to your left, to your right, you'd be looking up, down, you'd be turning around and facing, the shooting tower. You'd be looking all over the place. And so why are we on the range practicing looking to the left and the right if it makes no sense? And I think a lot of us, and I think that's where bearfacers.com comes into play, is some of us are being forced to do things that just simply don't make sense all the time. And we're just theatrics. We're just going through the motion. We're putting on a cloth mask, even though a cloth mask isn't what's saving you. It's a proper mask, and it's using more than one mask throughout the day if you really want to be protected. And so I think, a lot of us are just being theatrical in the way we're doing things, almost virtue signaling.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's
hey, I'm
virtue
putting
signaling.
a mask on. Look at me.
I care more than you.
Yes, I care more than you, which is all bullshit.
Just go to the data. That's what I say. If they say they're people of science, go to the data. Fauci has flipped his position on this multiple times. There's so much data on the ineffectiveness of the N95. I was just walking by a girl here, and she's wearing an N95, and she's like, "Oh, you smell really good." I'm like, mm-hmm. So the nanomicrons.
What are you wearing right now? Why do you smell good? What are you wearing?
Yeah, I
Armani.
think right now I'm wearing I
You look
know.
like an Armani guy.
Plug. This is a plug that could actually pay.
Yeah.
What are you wearing? You
I'm dropping the ball right
sexy
now, man.
piece. What are you wearing?
Well, I see you got Under Armour on.
This degree,
Degree.
But
Did you tell her that
she's
smell
wearing-
of man?
She's wearing an N95 mask, bro. And she says, you smell really good. So you tell me the nanomicrons of a COVID-19 at 0.1 to 0.5, they can go right through an N95 mask with 70.1 to 70.6 effectiveness. Like, why are people adhering to this data, man? Like, you look at the states that have been open, the cases remain the exact same, 99.8% survivability rate. It's evolved into a biopolitical weapon, and that's all that it is, man. Like, the mass hysteria being perpetuated by the mainstream media is just nauseating. I'm not saying that's not real.
No, but I mean, we
lives.
experienced that a lot with the government. When we were in the military, there's a lot of things that you do in the military that they're just not correct. Like cleaning your weapon all the way until it's shiny. I mean, there's data that shows cleaning your weapon that well is actually degrading the weapon, and taking all those oils off the weapon, that you need a little bit of that carbon to negate
that's the exact reason why I only bathe once every 2 weeks.
That's a good excuse. But that's like what we were just saying before. That's the way we've always done it. We've always had a two-party system. We've always voted like this. It's just the way we've always done it. Well, we're evolving as people and as a culture and as a society, but the stuff that is giving us the rules on how to live our lives is not evolving, and that just seems problematic to me in many ways.
These are coming from people who just think that they're smarter than the average citizen, and they expect us to adhere to their every word. They're just, like I said, man, it's all for power and control.
Are you still keeping up with soccer?
I mean, I am. It's been a part of my life for so long. I've been part of the U.S. Soccer Federation in some capacity for like the last 7 years, But at this point, man, to be honest with you, I just don't enjoy it anymore. I'm so sick of seeing these privileged athletes who have everything served to them on a silver platter, have experienced no type of adversity and no time. I'm speaking in generalities here. I'm sure there's special cases, but screaming about police brutality and all. And don't get me started. You and I are both former SWAT cops, man. We served in that community for a long time. We served alongside every race and culture, guys who running into buildings, not caring who's in there, what race they were, or anything like that. Nearly 400 million interactions with law enforcement, and there were 9 unarmed shootings last year. Like, the data does not substantiate the police brutality narrative, man. And that's another thing that I brought up in my speech. Like, that's why you're taking a knee. Like, I'm not saying that there aren't terrible things that happen, but there's not another entry-level position in the country that requires psych eval, polygraph testing, neighborhood canvases, your driving record, your background record, like a degree, a physical abilities test, a basic abilities test, all these different things, man. Like, to get a product that's going to be a selfless servant for their communities. Now, that doesn't mean that shitbags don't slip through the cracks. Of course they do. But this narrative, they're not, again, I brought in FBI statistics of 99 or 95% of the African-American deaths in every major city across the country come at the hands of another black man. So, with 3.7% being at the hands of law enforcement, 3.2% being a justified use of force. So you're taking your knee and burning down half your country over a half of a percentage of the deaths in your community. Your anger and rage is so recklessly misguided and misplaced, man. And so for me, when I look at those communities and I care about them, I love them, I grew up in them. Some of my closest friends, I hate saying, "Oh, I got a blood pressure." But anyways, it's like if you truly care about them, then you have to take in the totality of the information. If you have to recognize the issues in order to rectify them. If you care about it, right? And when you look at every demographic across the board, Hispanics, Asians, Natives, whites, blacks, there's, in all the crime statistics and all these different things, there's one really interesting statistic that is glaring to me, and that is the 78% fatherless rate in the African American community. Like, that's a significant number, where the rest of these communities are, the family dynamic and the accountability is intact. These kids they're good kids. They just don't have anybody, teaching them and instructing them, So when I see Black Lives Matter and people say, why don't you support Black Lives Matter? Well, of course I support Black Lives, and of course Black Lives Matter to me, very much so. But how can I support an organization in their mission statement is a Marxist ideology of the dissolvement of the nuclear family, when I think that is the key factor to the socioeconomic plights in those communities?
Well, listen,
you played soccer and you boxed in, what was it, Spain?
What's that?
Where did you boxed and played soccer? I know you played abroad before you joined the military. Was that in Spain or?
I played in South America.
South America. And so and Jahn, you speak a very fluent Spanish. I've heard you speak it a million times. And so family dynamic in the South American culture, that's very important, correct? The family culture.
The last part again, what's very important?
The family culture.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, man. Again, there's beautiful, rich culture, and same in Africa, man. The family dynamic is intact in Africa. I could write a book I lived in Africa for 2.5 years of my life, man, and I lived with the Vinda tribe. And that's what really actually illuminated the human trafficking trade, man. Is when I came to a place working in the low vis and doing the UC stuff, the undercover stuff, doing control buys, buying animal skins, elephant ivory, AK-47, blood, all that stuff, blood diamonds. I came to a place where I could buy people, bro, between $300 and $800 a head based on their physicality, their age, their health. I was like, how is this not a thing?
So you were an undercover buyer, and you were presented with the opportunity to buy children or buy humans.
Well, the first time it was baby parts, and I'm looking down at this box full of baby parts, and I took everything in me not to pull my pistol out and plug this dude up on the spot, but obviously that's not why I was there.
Yeah,
I went
God bless you.
I went straight to the intelligence unit commander, and I said, man, what's going on with this? He said, it's called the Moody murders. Look it up. MUTI, or the variant spelling is MUTHI murders. And based on my time living there, and I know it's limited, it's only 2.5 years, but what I really feel holds Africa in such a regressive state is their implementation, their practice of black magic. And not that I'm giving any relevance to it, but what I mean by that is that there's different levels of potency in their black medicine. They have plant-based, plant-animal-based, plant-human-based. And in their plant-human-based, they have 4 different levels of potency. Blacks being least potent, children, whites, and then albino blacks being most potent. And so there's murders, there's people abducted all the time. I mean, thousands of people put into slavery. There's supposedly an estimate of 20.3 million people enslaved in Africa today. And so when I started learning about these things, where I could actually buy people, man, it just blew my mind. But that's because there's no real.
I thought that was funny because you were telling that story in your speech, and when I was reading some Reddit blogs, we did a lot of research for the show, but there was one of the women's soccer players from the soccer thing, and one of the things that she couldn't take, and she miscontexted, was that you bought human beings. He bragged about being able to buy human beings. When I listened to the speech, what you're saying, what you're saying is, I know, and what you were saying is that you were talking about that there's 28 million people out there that are being sold and trafficked, and you're passionate about that being so bad, but yet in her Reddit blog, she's talking about how you bragged about being able to buy humans. You're not bragging about being able. What you're saying is that it's crazy and unreasonable that you should be able to, and I think that's what you're trying to preach. Am I correct on that or no?
100%, man. Like, what the heck, dude? Like, that's what I have dedicated my life for. This is the first time in my life, man. We've done multiple deployments together, bro. We've put our life on the line all over the world, and it's always like, I'm not gonna lie, like, lurking in the shadows of my mind was a political agenda behind my presence, our presence in some of these areas of operations. Whereas the mission is so pure. It is just going and getting people out of slavery, and that is what I found my sense of purpose in. And they've taken that from me, man. And not only that, they've taken it from the people who are waiting for me to come and do my work. And that's what's most nauseating is I have this privileged athlete who I don't even know who she is, but she can kiss my ass and she can go and spew some. But that's what blows my mind is that she that's what is so synonymous with that side of the aisle is they take things out of context to spin this false narrative. And that's what's terrible is in misinformation. And I learned about this in the intelligence community. I implemented this myself operationally. Only 13% of the population who heard the initial misinformation will hear the actual rebuttal of factual statement. That's
a huge problem. A huge problem with that, I think, is social media. I don't know if you've seen The Social Dilemma on Netflix. I think everyone should go watch that because it really puts into our consciousness what the hell is going on right now. And when you talked about, I don't know which soccer player said it. I could probably guess which one it was and what her hair looks like. But hey, the problem is people don't want to have these sorts of conversations that we're having. We were talking before the show how Rogan does a great job of having long conversations from talking with all these different people from different walks of life. Now it's clickbait shit. And social media is a huge reason why, I mean, just Twitter alone, I think it started at 140 characters, maybe now it's 240. Doesn't really matter. You can't get context of anything from something like that when all you want is retweets, likes, and clicks. And that's what people are going for now, and that's all people care about, rather than, well, why don't we actually sit down? Why don't we actually get the context of what you were talking about? Instead, she wants to, whoever it was, say something that will get her a Twitter applause and the blue checkmark brigade out there saying that she's Yas Queen.
100%, man. And the Twitter is such a different animal from other social media. I agree with your Social Dilemma position too. They should definitely check that out. But with Twitter's like just a place for people to go rage, man. It's just like all anger, all hatred, all the time. And there's no civilized discussion or anything.
It's a huge component to the division of this country too. Now,
you personally worked with the female soccer, the women's world soccer when they win the World Cup. What was your capacity there?
Yeah, I was on staff with them throughout the whole year, man. And you know what's crazy is I've had these same conversations with them, and they kind of pitted Megan Rapinoe and I against each other because they did this art. I can't remember which publication, but yeah, they did an article on me, standing and her kneeling, and so. But I've had conversations with the girls, a few of the girls on the team, and there's a couple who are critical thinkers, but the rest of them are just they're just completely detached from reality.
Were you there when they lost to the 14-year-old boys?
What's that?
Were you there when they lost to the 14-year-old boys team?
You know what? I'm just gonna come out and say it, man.
Say it.
This is man, because we obviously weren't.
You've already been canceled, so who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, man.
Can't be canceled twice, can you?
We're working on it.
It is what it is, man. I want to preface this with I think that we should just quit comparing men and women and celebrate women for women's sport and the brilliant things that they do in their sport, and men for the brilliant things that they do in their sport. But you shouldn't combine the two. And I've seen case after case of that. When they bring on every camp, they'll scrimmage against two club teams, and they're not pros. They're not academy teams. They're not college teams. They're not even. They're sure as heck not national, youth national players. They're just local boys clubs team. And if it's U6, like U14 and below, they'll win every time. U15, it will go either way. U16, they'll get beat about every time. And you won't hear any. There's always closed session. But again, I'm canceled, man. U.S. Soccer threw me under the bus. I've had these same conversations with them that I gave in my speech. I've had the almost verbatim, and they were like, "Yeah, we'll have good conversation about it." I've maintained those relationships for years, but once that cancel culture mob, that rabid mob, came after me and them, then they just tossed me right to the wolves. So I got no problem saying what it is. Like, that's what happened. Right?
I remember when I saw you in the locker room when the women won the World Cup and you were getting sprayed with the champagne. You had the goggles on, I believe. And I'd called you and you said, "Man, I'm just so glad it's over. You have no idea what it's like being with these women on traveling road, especially when you're a veteran." What did you mean by that?
Yeah, there are some beautiful personalities and some wonderful people in that team and in that organization. But generally speaking, it is chock full of some of the most, again, self-serving, pretentious, just really awful human beings, man, that I've been a part of. And it was awesome to be a part of something in women's sport history. It was awesome to celebrate with them. It was awesome to see them accomplish such an incredible goal and objective, and awesome to see such phenomenal athletes in their respective sport do what they do. But I was so glad it was over, because it's such a staunch contrast from any other demographic that I've worked with in the government and law enforcement and the military and on other professional teams. It was just grimy, man.
I mean, it's got to be hard. Somebody that's got as many combat related deployments, combat related involvements as you do, being wounded so many times in so many different theaters, working with so many different professionals and operators. Is it hard for you when you're not in the capacity that you're in currently? As we're looking at you in the car, I see that you're bearded out, you got your Under Armour on, I can see you're in your element again, but you haven't been in that element in a hot minute. You were in the sports world. Is it hard for you to relate to people outside of where you're at right now? Because the reason I ask is I see you in a different mood right now as how I've seen you in the past couple of years when you've been with athletes. Is it harder for you working in the civilian population than it is for you working in the contractor or the operator arena?
Oh my gosh, bro. It is night and day, man. It's just night and day. Every box you can check, it's just opposite, so. Yeah. But yeah. I'm grateful. I'm so grateful that this is the only, I can't really get into it, but the only gig right now.
Well, I mean, it must be a real special gig. You're sitting in a Prius. Bro, must be real badass.
Hey, funny story.
That's a fucking Prius. I can tell.
Do you remember? Do you remember Jordan Jarris at 20
Yes,
Troops?
I do remember Jarris.
So Jordan Jarris, he was in. We went through.
I sold him his first surfboard. I sold him his first surfboard.
So Jordan, like when he got injured or whatever, like we went through air assault together, airborne, all that, because there's always, Jahn and Jarris, so we were always next to each other, and so but he got injured in selection, and he went into S1, ended up becoming an officer. But anyways, all the S1 guys, whenever I would have a school or anything I needed to go to, I would show up in some weird austere place, and the rental car place would always be like, they're like, oh, we've been waiting to meet you. The guys at your office, they specifically asked for the gayest car that you have there. So I'd always take a picture with the car, and it's always, like you say, a green Prius or some, whatever. Like I had a powder blue Volkswagen Bug one time. I remember I was driving to the site, or the training site, and there's this girl in this Escalade, really a smoke show, and I'm looking over at her, I'm like, man, and she looks over, and she's visibly laughing at me. I just totally forgot what I was writing. I was like,
did you feel emasculated at that point in time?
So yeah, I'm in one of those government rental cars. Yeah, it's great.
Well, you look great, man. You still working out? Because I want to rematch on. I've been fighting. Look, rugby season started a week ago. I'm in the best shape of this month.
He's fat as shit.
Oh yeah.
He's fat as shit.
But I'm in the best shape of this month.
Today.
Yeah, I'm the best shape of my today.
We ate all that bean dip real quick.
We did just fucking.
But I want to ask you. Were asking about like these athletes who are spoiled and want to grandstand. So back in the day, Charles Barkley infamously got called out for saying we're not role models, we're athletes. Like I'm just a human being who makes mistakes and is really good at basketball. Whereas
I love
now,
Charles Barkley, man.
yeah, Charles Barkley, right, comes out and says we're not role models. I'm just I'm good at putting the ball through a hoop. Nowadays, every athlete has a platform. They're all on Twitter. We're all in the same room together talking. And someone like LeBron James has a much greater influence than, parents and teachers around the country nowadays. And he's someone, I think he's the wrong person for the job. I think he's a great basketball player. He's probably the second greatest basketball player of all time. But when it comes to the shit that he says, I just think he's uneducated on these topics. And not to say that he wasn't oppressed and had a tough life, because he didn't have a dad. I know all about that. Not so easy. But, his mom was like, drug addict, this and that. And he worked hard to get to where he was physically and everything. I won't take that away from him. But when he, tries to grandstand and talk politics, I just roll my eyes so hard that they're in the back of my head, because this guy has made shit up, okay? He claimed that he had, racially insensitive slurs spray painted on his house. And then when the cops showed up minutes, maybe even say an hour later, all of a sudden now it's sprayed over and it's nowhere to be found. He made that shit up, but yet you won't hear that it was made up. You only heard that it happened. And the media controls that narrative because he's the media's golden boy and they don't want any blemish on LeBron's perfect record. And he's a prime example of someone who shouldn't be speaking up. And I know, people, I think it was Laura Ingraham said, shut up and dribble. He can say whatever he wants, but we should kind of take it with a grain of salt, where these athletes, like you said, are in an ivory tower. They've never really lived full lives like you guys, out killing terrorists and doing the real good shit that keeps us safe, that allows them to have a voice. And they're saying all the wrong shit, and they're influencing a whole generation of people, not to mention the media pumps them up with everything LeBron says is better than the Bible. So I think that these athletes need to kind of take a step back, and I'm not saying that they should shut up. They have every right to speak up. Kaepernick has every right to kneel, just like Tebow had a right to kneel, and just like you have a right to stand.
I agree. I agree with you up until the point of I think they should shut up, because I think that, again, they're exercising their First Amendment. However, what we need to do is start educating the youth who listen to them, who adhere to their every freaking word. They need to start using some critical thinking. I just did a post about this as far as quit deferring to athletes and these celebrities who have no life experience that warrants their passionate positions on how you should vote, on what policies you should be looking into. Yeah, they have all the right to say it, but you need to take that with a grain of salt. Like you said, man, you need to start adhering to actual subject matter experts who live and breathe and work in that realm. If you go to a doctor's office, are you gonna, listen to what a plumber said to do when it comes to your health? It's the same type of thing. Like, you adhere to people who are trained, who have the life experience to warrant their position in their voice on those matters. It's the same in our media. Our media is so divisive, man. Like you have these anchors who are educated in the socially programmed educational institution, who are now giving their perspective on how you should interpret the news. And if you go to these other countries, I've been to 98 countries, I've lived in 9 of them. If you go to these other countries, they don't have news personalities. They say, all right, this is what happened. Do with it what you will. Here in our country, we have a Don Lemon, an Anderson, Cooper, a Tucker Carlson, who are all telling us how we should be interpreting this news.
And they become celebrities.
That's absolute BS, man. So for me, it's like, people, kids especially, start just, if you have an issue, if you want to learn something, you go to somebody who's trained and well versed in that, right?
Sure.
What is that?
But a big problem with that too is teachers. I think teachers are extremely important. However, I think it starts in the education system, especially I can't speak for elementary, middle, and high school necessarily, but when it comes to universities and colleges around the country, they're indoctrinating these kids with these ideologies. Most professors, I'm sure, align more far left, not even left of center. Far left.
I've got a funny story, Jen. My wife, Ashley, one of the smartest people that we both know.
She's brilliant. I love her to death.
When she was getting her master's degree at the young age of 23, she had never made anything less than an A in her whole life. And she wrote a paper for her master's degree. And when she was writing the paper, she took the stance it was all about speeches and great speeches and how to influence speeches. And she wrote that a whole paper on Obama dropping the G's off of words when he spoke only to black people. So it was called, her title of her paper was called G dropping. And so she would say, we're marching on the Capitol, not marching. We're moving, we're getting, we're going. And she just thought it was interesting that when he would speak at the Black Caucus or these other things, that he dropped the G's, but in no other speech did he drop the G's. And so her paper was on the power of just one letter and how that can change the course of an entire speech. Well, her teacher gave her a C, her first C in her entire life. Now, she's in her master's program. She got her first C in her master's program, and the reason why she got a C was because it was poor context. Her paper was poor context.
It's the
I mean,
diversity
bro,
of thought right there.
that's just a glaring example. There's a really interesting book written in, I believe, the 50s by Special Agent Leon Skozig, a former FBI agent, who wrote the Naked Communist, and he outlines 45 points of how the left and communism takes over in our country. And 3 of those main points was take over the educational institution, take over entertainment, and take over the news. As far
What
as
are we
Hollywood
seeing right now?
And that was
that's
written
exactly
when?
what we're seeing right now. I'd implore anybody to go check that. There's some things that aren't quite applicable as far as the nuclear proliferation and some of the concerns that were more culturally relevant then. But it is exactly what it is. The news, the educational institution is nothing but gray agitated propaganda. They take isolated incidents, they exacerbate them, they exploit the emotive state of their audience in order to garner ratings and all these anchors and all these people who are responsible for that are people who are indoctrinated in their belief system within the socially programmed higher educational institutions. And again, I've been to 8 universities myself. I've been in education.
You're working on your doctorate. Are you still working on your doctorate, or did you get it?
I am working on that still, but I'm one of those who are educated far beyond their intelligence. And I saw the same thing. If you exercise any diversity of thought within those classrooms, then you are berated for it. Your grades reflect accordingly. And so. But these are the people who are leaving there. They're going into into education. They're going into politics. They're going into the news, and they're even going into the government. Man, like look at the agency. I can't get too much into that, but man, the agency has gone so far left. I'm talking about the agency, right? And it's crazy. I have so many stories. I wish
it's so funny to talk to you. I've been talking to you for years and years and years. We started our journey together. Almost 15 years ago.
Oh my God.
2005. That's 15.
Old motherfuckers.
That's almost 16 years ago that we started our journey together. You have always been. You've shied away from politics the whole time I've known you.
Yep.
Matter of fact, you always geared towards religion. You were kind of the light. You were always happy. You always have a smile on your face. I've never seen you this outspoken. I've never seen you this angry before. I kind of like it.
I was pushed this way, bro. Like the line has been drawn in the sand, and now there's been a war that's been declared on all the things that we love so much, all the things that made me happy, all the things that makes everybody happy. And now it's our responsibility to just step into that arena, because if not, then they all disappear, man. And I honestly fully expected coming into this conversation, we were just going to be our goofy selves laughing and BSing about all the things we typically laugh about. But it's real. It's real talking. It's really happening, man. And it takes guys like you and guys like me from our communities to start shedding some light on what's really happening. These policies that are being implemented into our country. 55% of of the world's immigration comes into the United States. People are fleeing those policies and to come here in the States and see the very things that they're fleeing being implemented. It's the same in blue states. People are leaving California in droves and trying to implement those same policies into Texas and into Georgia and things like that. It's asinine, man. It's crazy.
One of my favorite stories is when you came down here for the wedding. We didn't know if you were still going to be in a wheelchair, if you were going to have a cane. We didn't know what was going on. And so we were getting married in a vineyard. We'd already set up that we were going to have plywood all the way out to where we were going. And then you showed up and you said, I don't need any of that. I'm actually going to walk for your wedding. And I said, well, if you walk, you can't even do it with a fucking cane, because I want all eyes on me. It's my wedding, and I want to be the fucking star of this show. So if you're going to walk, you walk like a fucking man.
It's supposed to be on the bride, isn't it?
And you did. You walked like a fucking man, no cane, and you held out as long as you could at our wedding and then when you brought the cane out, I told you to get the fuck out. I said, if you're tired of dancing without that cane, you can fucking leave.
Show no weakness.
Yeah, because it's my day, Seth Jahn. It's my day. It's all about me.
And you were a glorious animal. Oh my God, look at you.
And you know what? You paid for the whole bachelor party. I'm still waiting on you to get married so that I can.
Wait a second. Hold on a second. You guys had a bachelor party together. You got to share some stories. I'm sure there's at least one.
It was
good
a cigar
story.
bar, and I think it was it was over $1,000 bar tab at a cigar bar. So which he covered. I'm not sure why he covered it. I still feel bad to this day, but I'll have to rectify that. So when you get married, we're gonna go harder.
First of all, don't put that evil on me. I don't have
Nobody would love you anyway. With that stupid fucking beard, nobody's going to marry
It's
you.
a badass beard.
Like, I don't have a face that's conducive to a long-term relationship or even procreation for that matter. So, not all of us were blessed the way you were, Eric.
How big is your dick? You're a big guy. You've got a big beard. You got big hands. Your nose is fucking huge. How big is that dick?
Look, man, I got the only thing I get compliments on is my nose. Look,
you have a nice profile. This is where I tell you to go on YouTube so you can see what we're looking at. Hit that like button. Give us a subscribe. Hammer that like button. We just saw Seth Jahn's profile. It's a beautiful profile. But we're trying to figure out about that dick size, homie. What you packing down there? We 7? We 10? What do we got?
It's cute like a button. It looks like a penis, just only smaller.
Yeah, okay. I can picture that. I honestly, I thought it was like a baby's arm with a boxing glove on the end. Because you've got to be dropping a hammer with a face that ugly. To see the girls that you've been dating, you've got to have a pretty big hammer down there. I'm not going to lie.
I think it's just a severe lack of options. All the good ones are taken, like y'all two good-looking animals, And so they're like,
I am taken. What's good, ladies?
What's next for you, Seth Jahn? What is next? What you got? Any future goals? Are you going to go back to war? Are you going to go full fucking Rambo, move to Vietnam, train cobra snakes, and fuck the U.S.? Or are you going to stay the course? What's going on?
Well, I
write a fucking book.
I was going to give the Olympics another shot I made the national I was competing in the national taekwondo team, and all the events got shut down due to COVID. So I think I'm just going to wrap up my athletic career. I feel really blessed to even have the opportunity I had with the limited amount of athletic ability that I have. So I think for me, man, it goes back to getting back to a position where I can get into the counter human trafficking stuff. That's what I'm passionate about. I don't know if I'll be operational in the field again, but I can still be in a managerial role. And then politics, man, like I'm serious about that. I hate the idea of it, but that's where I feel like you
got to be pretty. You got to be pretty to get votes, and you're not pretty.
Well, that's what it's going to take, though.
Well,
go for it, dude. I'd vote for you.
That's why I wear a beard, man. Like, I cover up as much of my face as possible, but I'm just here to make beards great again.
So what happens if you don't have a defined chin? You need to cover it up with a beard. That's I'm doing.
Pretty much exactly what's happening right now.
Right. But honestly, that's what it's going to take for anything to kind of change. Because we say APAC, all politicians are cunts, but that can change, right? It takes good people like you. We talked about Dan Crenshaw, who's been in it, but he was someone like you guys. I would like to say people I like Jocko a lot. I know you're kind of back and forth on Jocko, Tim Kennedy, guys like that, guys who never wanted to be into politics, because right now, who the fuck would want to do those jobs, right? Who the fuck would want to be president, right? The Trumps and Bidens of the world, the pieces of shits. Whereas
you have to have a certain degree of narcissism to even desire that position.
For sure. We need more good people getting into those positions. That's the only way that you can change anything.
The thing of it is most of the guys in our community, they want to be in the shadows. That's where we're most comfortable. We don't want the spotlight on us. We don't want credit for things. Most of the time, people are getting credit for what we actually do. And so to reshift that mentality from going out of the shadows into the spotlight is very uncomfortable for most of those guys. Even for me, going from the
is that why you unbuttoned the first 2 buttons of your shirt? Because you want to be out of the spotlight? Don't act like I didn't fucking notice that. You fucking look jacked as shit.
Got my chest tube down to my ball furrow.
You look great, homie. You look great. So you think you're really gonna get into politics?
I hope I don't get voted in, but
I'm gonna vote for you. I'm gonna fake like 1,500 votes too. So
I feel compelled to do it, man. Like I'm just sick of it. I'm sick of seeing who's making these decisions for us, man.
Look, all the things you've done, and again, that's where I'll say, follow Seth Jahn on Instagram. He's, you've raced Indy cars, you've hiked to Mount Kilimanjaro, you've trained to hike to Everest, you've been around the world, you've been to 92 fucking countries, you fought in terrorists all over the world. Out of all of those experiences, which one was your favorite?
Probably the culmination of all of that, the apex of all my training, education, the culmination of sitting here with you in my Prius.
Yes, this is it.
All
this is it for you. This is where
bros.
This is where it's at for you, homie.
This is where it's at. This is I feel so happy right now. Thank you for that. This is I needed this in my life.
Oh, well, you're welcome.
Well, we
I
appreciate it.
needed your little ray of sunshine. Look at you.
Look, and this is the point in the show where we wrap it up. We let you pick the drinking bro or broette of the week. Now, it has to be living. As much as we want to pay tribute to the dead, fuck them. They're gone. They can't inspire anybody else now because they're dead. We want you to pick somebody that's living as your drinking bro or broette of the week. They don't get anything special. It's really just for show. But you pick somebody that's special in your life that motivates you right now that you say, you know what, I want this guy to be the drinking bro of the week.
Oh my gosh, dude.
Or broette. We love to put you on the spot. That's what it's about. Everybody looks retarded when they're trying to figure out who the drinking bro of the week is.
Who
That's
would I
what this
wanna
is
have
about.
a drink with, man? I don't know, bro.
I don't know is not a proper answer. If you're going to be a politician, you got to come up with something better. Then we'll circle back.
Who do I want to have a drink with?
Living.
Women. Okay.
Living, not women. Living.
What's
living.
on your mind, bro?
Not dead.
You're sitting in that car for too long, I think.
Yeah, not dead. He's sitting in a garage. He's sitting in a garage with that car on.
I wish we would have had some type of pre-conversation.
No, that's not what this is about. The awkwardness, this happens every show. The awkwardness is what makes it good.
Big decision. Dude.
Out of all the crazy, incredible shit you've done, you're making it seem like this is the hardest thing you've ever had to do.
This is right. At
Who
the
has
top
inspired you to be as awesome as you are?
That's living.
What's that?
Who's inspired you to be as awesome as you are?
That's living.
That's living. I've never been described as awesome, but I really appreciate that for sure. I think, man, goodness gracious. I'm gonna just go with my dad, man.
Oh, there you
Wow,
go.
must be nice. What's it like?
Is he
having a dad?
alive? Is your dad alive?
My dad's alive. He's just a very selfless man. He lives a life for us, and he's always been there for me, always guided me on the right path, and ensured that I kept a shepherd's heart. So yeah.
That's funny because I called your dad for some research for the show, and he said, "I don't want to talk about my son."
My dad. What's that?
He said, "I don't want to talk about that guy. He's not my son." I'm kidding. I didn't call your father. I didn't call your dad. I didn't call him. But if I did call him, I feel like that's what he would say. I don't want to talk. He's not my son.
There's
Canceled.
a lot of compelling evidence to substantiate your position there. I think that you might be right, actually.
You know what? You know the only way I have three sons. Do you know the only thing that would get my sons canceled from the Tansy household?
What was that?
It's not gay marriage. It's not heroin addiction. It's not anything but vaping. If my kids showed up with a vape pen, I would cancel them from the Tansy. They would no longer carry the Tansy name. If they had a vape pen, I would tell them to get the fuck out and never return. That's where I draw the line. If they want to have abortions, go for it. They want to be gay, go for it. They want to be trans, go for it. But if you come to my house with a vape pen, you're canceled.
So you're not pro 420, bro?
No, I'm not pro vape pen.
He's a cop.
Okay.
You wrap it, you roll it.
I'm a former cop too, man, but I'm pro 420 now.
Same here.
Are you
man.
really?
Blaze up, motherfucker.
Well, Seth, it's
my favorite guest.
my favorite. Noel, our producer, does not partake in 420 ever. His kids call Willie Nelson Uncle Willie. So
never.
So yeah, they've never been around weed. I'm sure with Willie.
Never.
Well, since
I
we
have
named
no idea what you're talking about.
since we're name dropping Willie Nelson, I want to give a quick happy birthday shout out to Slow Hand himself, Eric Clapton.
Oh, that's right. It's
Who
Eric
is
Clapton's.
Eric's namesake. His cool ass motherfucking dad named him Eric after Slow Hand himself, Eric Clapton.
Yes, Eric Clapton and Eddie Van Halen. That's who I was named after.
That's not the coolest dad ever. I don't know who is.
Well, my mom was too drugged up to come up with a name, and so my dad was
That
like,
epidural.
fuck it. I like Eric Clapton and Eddie Van Halen. Let's name him Eric Edward.
Fuck yeah, man. That's rock and roll right there.
Are we done with Seth Jahn? Is he off?
He's frozen in time somewhere.
He looks like he's off. As long as we're still on, that's okay.
I guess we lost him.
He doesn't need the final word.
I think we lost him.
We'll get the final word here at
What a guest, man.
Drinking Bros Sports Tailgate
dude.
Legends. He was a great guest.
Cool fucking guy.
Again, look him up.
He had an Irish goodbye right there. We
He
didn't
did.
give him
He
a proper
said,
one. We
fuck
just, yep.
you guys.
Peace.
I'm out.
Which I'm totally cool with. You know.
Yeah, I feel like it
Still
should be no other way.
Look at
Still
him.
frozen on the
And a
screen.
smile, and he's frozen with a
Always-
smile.
Always
Can I just
smiling.
say though, you were shitting on what he looks like. That dude's a fucking hunk. Are you kidding me? Compared to your dumbass? I mean, come on.
Agree to disagree.
And I'm as straight as they come. I'm just
disagree.
saying. I can objectively say that's a handsome ass man.
Boss and
You're
Joe,
over
we've
here.
got a lot coming up this month.
We do. Very excited for
We've got the NFL show, the draft
the
show.
next 2 months, really. April
Really?
and May.
Yeah, we got Mother's Day episode where we're going to meet your mom.
Yep, shout out to Lori. She's coming on. She's a little nervous. She told me that she's going to be nervous. She's like, do I have to talk?
I think I'm going to bring my mom on the show as well.
Well, you
So
met my aunt.
We're
so
gonna
you pretty
fight.
much already met my mom. They're basically the same thing.
Met your aunt, fucked your aunt, did all the things with your aunt. My mom's coming
She
in
too
town.
watches the show. Hello, Auntie Lisa.
My mom's coming in town. Your mom's coming in town for the Mother's Day episode. We're going to Austin for the NFL draft, and we're going to Dallas for a UFC fight.
Chuck Liddell. What's up?
With old Chuck Liddell and
The
Ross
Iceman.
Patterson, all the crew.
Dan
So we have
and
a
Jesse.
lot of things coming up, guys. Hit that like and subscribe button if you're on Spotify, YouTube. Where we're at right there is where we get paid. Is those 5-star reviews.
Yes, that too. The comments.
If you've made it
reviews.
this far in the show, I don't feel bad in asking you to leave a 5-star review.
Me neither.
And I don't feel bad in saying to hammer that like button on YouTube, even though YouTube has shadow banned us.
They can
the
try.
Only way you can find us on YouTube is if you type in Drinking Bros Sports Tailgate Legends. If you just type in our names, you won't find us because we use too many swear words.
Wah.
That's freedom of speech here in the U.S.
Fuck censorship.
You guys want to close out on this freeze frame of this gorgeous human being right here?
Yes, close out on
And
that.
can you play freeze
Okay.
frame? while you
Can
do
we
that?
play? Wait. Can we sing a song? Can we sing a song? What's the
Freeze
song
frame.
that we sing?
Freeze frame. Bum, 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 ba-da-na.
Freeze frame. Freeze frame. Oh, yeah. Okay, there it is. Until
bad.
next time, guys, this is Drinking Bros Sports Tailgate Legends, brought to you by Instill Distilling Company, WhiskeyWare.com, BearFacers.com, Blue Line Canine. Cheers.